We have the idea that awakening needs to be a very spontaneous, extreme experience that all at once changes absolutely everything. And as I'm sitting here looking around the garden, feeling that open spaciousness that, yes, it probably had always been there before. I had never really noticed it. I had never had it pointed out before. Yes, there are different things in the experience that are not taken as personally as they used to be. There isn't the centrally located self, but I guarantee people still feel the sensations and the thoughts that at one point would have led them to believe that they were a self, even after awakening. The difference is just the recognition of what is actually in your experience and that it's not being fed into by all of the stories and the assumptions that we have been putting on from the beginning. The open spaciousness that we talk about, and that some people label presence or awareness, or you, the big self. I don't feel or see anything personal about that. I know it's comforting and convenient. It has a psychological benefit to it. But if it feels like you need that support system, that idea that there is something here which is eternal and permanent and unkillable, uninjurable, then I offer that maybe you might want to look into those feelings of insecurity, the feelings that make it not okay for things to change, be impermanent, that makes it so things aren't okay to die or go through cycles. And it's okay to experience all of that. It's okay to feel that. It's okay to crave permanence and stability and predictability. But in order to really be comfortable giving up any inkling of the identification with something which needs to persist at all cost, and you really need to get in contact with that deeper fear, that deeper sense that something just isn't right if it doesn't if it doesn't stay permanent. If death exists or an idea of death exists, then it seems like there must be something wrong with this picture. Something is wrong with the world when things can die. Get in contact with that feeling of discomfort. See what it really needs. See what it wants. Give it what it needs and what it wants. And then see if it's okay to feel things change, be impermanent. If it's okay to feel the blowing and the moving and the falling away moment after moment after moment, because everything is constantly arising, fresh in a new expression, and then gone. Every moment that I raise my eyes to look up, there is this fresh image of trees and flowers, plants, everything appears all at once, and then I blink or my head comes down. And all of a sudden, that image is gone. It does not exist anymore. What I'm seeing now is an image of a computer screen and a rug and some chairs and outdoor furniture. I see a movement of a body or the image of a body on a screen. All of that is here, whoosh, this moment, now. And then the blink happens and it's gone. The eyes open, it's there again. The head moves. All of a sudden, another world comes into view. It's constantly dying, being reborn, appearing, non existent, over and over and over again in a way which is beautiful and keeps things fresh and alive if we don't maintain the connections from one moment to another. If we don't cling to the image that was just there a moment before and say, I long for that one to come back, please don't go. It's okay that it's gone. It's okay for things to be here and then disappear. And something else will rise afterwards. The issue is when we feel there is something personal about any of it, something that is a me that must be kept alive and safe here forever. And it's not to say that you don't need to or shouldn't take care of the body, do things to stay safe and healthy and well, go to the doctor and the dentist and all of that. There is a level in which you can do all of that without the attachment of identification, even with that, without the feeling that anything that the doctor says or does is personally affecting this you that needs for things to be a certain way, the you that needs for everything to turn out happy in the end, like an American movie. It really reflects the greater urge and the desire in this culture that we all need to have this idea that everything turns out well in the end. And it feels great to think that way. And there's nothing wrong with thinking that way if it keeps you feeling mentally secure and safe. And if it's distressing for you to think that it's otherwise, then please turn this off and go elsewhere. There's nothing about this that needs to be done or needs to be practiced or needs to be seen. There is, however, a deeper freedom in the way that we go about our life when we can let go of all of that need for permanence, that need for individual certainty that I am going to be okay and continue on as I have always been, because you aren't, and you haven't been, and you won't be. You are not the same you that was there 5 minutes ago or 30 years ago. There is nothing stable in these appearances, even though it often feels that way. So see if you can just take a deep breath, allow the eyes to close, and when they open again, notice that this is a fresh, new experience that you have never experienced before, exactly the way that it is. We use the visual field, but you can notice this in the auditory field and in the physical field of the body senses, in the smells and the tastes that are coming and going. There's an illusion that things like sounds and smells and tastes might linger longer than they do. That sensations in the body, especially pain, might be there for longer than they really. So I invite you to really feel what's happening in the moment. Notice how everything is constantly changing, how everything is constantly in a state of flux, of flow, of movement. It's tingling, it's buzzing, it's tweeting, it's chirping, it's wind blowing. And even in the things that seem like steady, stable, consistent sounds, there is constant variation. Notice even the way that your attention bounces from the visual field to the auditory field to a sense field, feeling something in your leg and then hearing something outside, again drawn to something in front of you in the visual field. We're constantly changing our experience. Floosh, 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 floosh. And then we also have the internal world of thoughts, and they're constantly pulling us out of this seemingly external reality. It's an interaction that is constantly happening back and forth between thought and these supposedly external perceptions, sensations in the body, another sound, another visual experience, back and forth, back and forth. And every moment we have the idea that there's been a continuity here, that there's been something which has been existing this entire time since you were born and is going to continue even long after the body has died, because it seems that way in our daily experience. If we're not really aware of the temporal phenomenality of things, the very short period of time that each sense experience is witnessed, the short amount of time that each thought is experienced, without that really clear awareness, of course, it feels like everything has been experienced by me my entire life with no break. Maybe when I'm sleeping at night, maybe when I go blank and then wake up in the morning. Even the dream world feels like there's a continuity there, even though when we wake up, we recognize that we can only remember a few blurry fragments. So it's okay to recognize that things are changing, things are impermanent. It's okay to feel the discomfort for a little while, but just notice it and notice that it really is calling for a clinging to something. It's saying that it's not okay for things to be the way they are. It's saying that it's not okay for me to let go of my illusory sense of self. It's saying that it's not okay for things to die and be reborn. It's not okay for seasons to change. It's not okay for my visual field to come and go. It's not okay for any experience to end. The greatest night of your life is going to end. The worst moment of pain that you've ever had is going to end. Impermanence is a mixed blessing. It's just it's just asking us to give up the concept of attachment, because you cannot attach to anything that's here. And if you try, that is where our suffering comes from. Attachment and clinging to anything that is impermanent is inevitably the cause of great suffering. Do you feel how even in that moment of relative silence, at least silence of this voice, that so many sense experiences happen? I'm sure you had different thoughts that popped in and out. I'm sure your eyes were drawn to something around the room, and your attention was caught by some sound appearing and then disappearing again. Did it hurt to allow any of those things to go? Was it okay that they arose and then they disappeared? In fact, were you even aware of it when it was happening? It's our normal state of being to be so disengaged and disattached with thoughts and with sensations that we're on numb autopilot half the time. We are intentionally or unintentionally losing vast tracts of our experience. Hours every day of our experience go by unattended and unobserved. We have no problem letting them go because we didn't have any particular attachment to them. If we don't make if we don't make a story about any of these things, we have no attachment to them. Attachment needs a story. It needs a thought to make something into something. It takes a thought to make any it takes a thought to make any appearance into something. sitting here completely open, without any intentional thoughts, without having any trains of consideration or mulling over going on. Everything is simply appearing as it is. But even more than that, if there is an inkling that I am sitting here because I am enjoying this moment and I'm looking for the enjoyment or the experience of pleasure in this moment, that already has an agenda that's looking for attachment to something. It's a beautiful day. It's sunny. There's a lot of greenery and fresh flowers blooming, and I'm supposed to be able to enjoy that sort of thing. So I'm going to sit out here and I'm going to wait until I feel that feeling of enjoyment arise that I know I'm supposed to be feeling in these moments. Okay, but what if it doesn't? And do I feel like a failure because I wasn't able to generate a feeling of such contentment, such love of this beauty? But it's an arbitrary thought that this should be beautiful and this should be inspiring a sense of contentment and peace and love and connectedness. Dropping all of that, dropping all of the ideas that one landscape should be beautiful and that I want to see more of it and I should experience a certain emotional when I'm in that experience, dropping the idea that another environment is negative and scary and bleak and just makes me want to run away and go someplace where there's more color and vibrancy and life and nature. All of that is concept. All of it is concept. If we can sit for even a moment with absolutely no agenda, no attachment, no wanting something to be a certain way, no expectations for something to make us feel a certain way, no expectation that a moment is going to last longer than it does, then we can be free from suffering. Then, for just that moment, we can truly be okay with everything happening as it is. And that is the contentment that is underneath every experience. The clinging to get something out of life, that need for me to get better, to have a better experience, to have a new moment of enjoyment, enlightenment, peace, etc. It's all defeating the purpose. It's a self-defeating cycle looking for something that you don't have. Just be calm, be still, be quiet for a moment, and recognize that what you have been looking for this whole time is truly here. It has never gone away. It's only been covered up by all of your attachments and needs and stories about it and wanting for it to be a certain way. Let all of that go. And that is what we're talking about. It's not something that a single momentary explosion of laughter is going to cure or going to provide for you for life. As long as you are capable of being lost in stories, as long as you're capable of believing that thoughts have any sort of truth to them in a way that you need to take them seriously and that they are talking about you, whatever you take you to be, even if that thought is about the you who is the entire cosmos, the you who is absolutely eternal and one with everything, the you who is nothing but boundless energy, all of that is a thought story. And all of that keeps you clinging to something. It's keeping you in a, it's keeping you locked in a way where if you have a moment where you do not feel like you are living up to your own enlightenment, you feel like a failure. If it feels like all of a sudden you have a moment of attachment to something, you have a moment of selfing. Oh no, I thought I was awake. I thought I was enlightened. I thought I was past all of that. It was a moment of attachment that is covering up what has always still been there. Let go of the attachment and recognize that you've never lost anything. And you've never gained anything by having one large insight. You've never gained anything by having a moment where you felt like you were suddenly awakened. Yes, it's lovely. Yes, there are things that you can take from that into your daily life to integrate it, to become more present, to recognize all the ways that you are oftentimes creating stories, creating something out of nothing, putting meaning on things that are absolutely, utterly meaningless. But you don't need to change anything about you, about what you think you are. You don't need to change anything about the situation that you're in. All you need to do is to stop creating stories about it, to take just a moment to sit here without agenda, without attachment, without thoughts about how you know how things currently are and how they should be, and just allow it to show itself for the moment that it's there and then to disappear and become a new moment that arises in a new way, completely fresh, without any sort of connection to the moment that came before. And recognize if in that moment you can also feel that there is no you who has been here creating a continuous lifeline, that there is no you who has been looking at that past moment and now sees this new moment and is comparing the two and making a whole story about it and how it relates to you. In the moment when things are truly here as they are, and they are truly content, and they are truly simply arising, there is no you to be found anywhere. And that you doesn't disappear. That you is just made obviously not there. It's not the getting rid of something that once was. It's just the observation, the very clear illumination of the fact that it was never there. It was something that was bred by thought. And when the thoughts aren't there, there's no self to be there either. So, bringing this back to the beginning, if you feel like you need some thing to hold on to, some idea, some concept, some feeling that feels true to you in this moment, it's fine. It's okay. There's no judgment about any of that. It's just seeing where even when you feel like you are the big self, when you are absolutely everything, awareness, the cosmos, the universe, everything, notice what is here now when you drop those labels too. What is here when you let go of all concepts about what any of the sensations that you're experiencing actually mean? What is here when you are simply non existent, allowing everything to show up in the space where you once thought you were? What you have taken yourself to be is the experience of a world. And it is a constantly changing experience. There is no consistency to it on this level. It is constantly in motion, which means that which means that what you take yourself to be is also constantly in motion. It was never fixed. So there's nothing there to cling to because it simply is not a thing. For it to be a thing, it needs to be stable. It needs to be able to be found. It needs to be identifiable. And no matter how much you look, you're never going to find that thing. And when you have a sensation that that is gone, but now there's this bigger thing, which is really you. This is the real you, the one that was the face before your parents were born. That you, it's lovely. Feel it. Get acquainted with it. Recognize that sensation. Recognize the difference of the experience living from that sense. And then drop that too. Drop all of the stories about it the assumptions about what it must mean, because there are cultures that around the world have been talking about this for thousands of years, and they all give it a different name. They all say that it means something different. So don't latch on to anything. Just be with what is here. Just be what is here. And recognize that even that being is constantly changing. There is no part of even that experience of oneness that is actually permanent. There is nothing about it that is stable and unchanging, and there never will be. Let all concepts go, even the concept of impermanence. They all have to drop to feel truly expansive, at peace, content, without any agenda, without any need for even that to continue for more than a moment. It's a beautiful way of being, and I invite you to experience it, but not because it's some high exalted state or something that you have to be good enough or work hard enough or be the special chosen one to experience. It is there all the time. You just have to slow down, drop all of the agendas and the attachments, and recognize what's always been here. Wishing you so much love and so much contentment. Enjoy.